So the 520 family is basically 5 frame sizes. So from a commonality standpoint, the 520 drives, you can pull this front cover off, and the 525, you can add a dual port Ethernet card or an encoder card or even a DeviceNet or Profibus card. Same thing with the 523, but you can't put the encoder card in a 523. And when you buy the drive, obviously it's one whole drive, but you can mount the power module is this back half here, and the control module is the front half. That's kind of later, because the front piece of it is where the USB resides, and you can also do some programming with that while somebody's mounting the power module. We offer an external fan kit, and keep in mind, if you do decide to use this or need to use this for some reason, it does require an external 24-volt power supply. The power supply inside the drive just can't run this fan. But this fan is used for running the drive in high ambient air temperatures, and you can also mount the drives horizontally. And if you do that, you'll need to use the fan to force the air through the drive properly. The 527, again, is a different animal, but it does have pull apart terminal blocks. The 525 and 523 do not. And again, here's just to show a picture of how they're mounted side by side. So you can set the drives up with the built-in human interface. We refer to it as the keypad. You can also program the drives using CCW, the 523 and 525 drives, that is. You can't program the 27 with CCW. You can also build your own, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. There's a little video on how to do this, but when you log on to the drive with the CCW, you can highlight different application type parameters that Rockwell is deemed and are typically used for these applications. And you can also create your own custom parameter list that might be useful to you if you have a lot of repetitive drives. You build a machine or whatever, and you're doing the same thing over and over again. You can also program the drives through Logix 5000, and obviously they're all integrated into 5000 with Ethernet. Again, the 523 will need an Ethernet card. It doesn't come with built-in Ethernet. So here's the 527. I'm just going to show it to you since it's pulled up, but it comes with a dual port Ethernet encoder feedback option and safety on board. There is the 525 drive. It comes with a DSI port and an Ethernet port, and it also comes with built-in safe torque off. There's a picture of the dual port Ethernet card. And then there's the 523. It just has the DSI port. And we have an optional DeviceNet. I guess the Profibus card wasn't out when this was developed, so it's not showing a picture of it. I do want to talk about this. This is a little bit outside of the realm of today's discussion. We're going to be doing a Premier integration seminar in a couple of weeks. But there is a very, very, very important feature that we as Rockwell and Rockwell distributors think is a huge benefit to our customers, called auto device configuration. So basically, if you're using our compact Logix or our control Logix, and one of our static switches is kind of hidden behind this play button, there's a feature called auto device configuration, and it's really 3 parts. From a drive standpoint, we just call it ADC. It's just easier to say that. But what it essentially does is, if this is all set up in advance, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time to do so, then all you have to do really is replace the drive if it were to fail in the future. And I'll talk during the video. So you have a drive running and it fails at 2 a.m. or whatever time. All you have to do is power down, unwire, replace, rewire, power back up. And what happens as soon as you power up, the switch will force the IP address. And of course, this is a function of the switch. Switch forces the IP address to the device. The processor now sees the device and says, okay, is it the exact same device? And it says yes. Then it says, okay, is it the exact same firmware? And if it's not, the processor has the ability to flash the firmware and update it for the project. And once that's done, it will then download the parameter set to the drive. So you don't have to do any hands-on from a connected components workbench or pressing a keypad or programming anything. It's just up and running. And with a 527, this process takes about 5 to 7 minutes to do a full IP address, firmware, and configuration. So I just thought that was worth mentioning. So again, there's the dual port Ethernet card being installed. And here's an example of horizontal mount. When, like I said, if you have the need to mount these, and in certain situations you may, from a space standpoint, we ask that you're required to put this fan on here. We'll talk a little bit more about energy savings later, but this drive has some built-in parameters where you can utilize good information about energy savings. So let's get into the drives themselves. Here's just a comparison of them side by side. You'll see there's a lot of functionality difference really in the 523, 525, and 527. But from a power rating, they're all the same. From a motion control or from a motor control standpoint, as you can see, the 523 has senseless vector volts per hertz and economize. The 525 can do closed loop velocity vector and can also do permanent magnet motor control. You'll also notice that from an application standpoint, we can do closed loop speed regulation with encoder feedback on the 525, obviously. The 523 does not have any safety, and you can't add safety like a safe torque off card, but the 525 has it built in. And the only difference from a communication standpoint is that the 525 has built-in Ethernet. So unless you want to do a dual port Ethernet card for like a linear topology or a ring, then you just get away with the built-in Ethernet card in the 523. So this is the mains free programming I was talking about. You pull the front cover off, the control module off the drive, and you just use basically a printer cable. I don't know if anybody has a 1203 USB Anaconda serial adapter, but it's how we talk to our drives as well. It comes with a RS485 connector and a little DIN connector for the PowerFlex 7 class drives. The RS485 connectors for the 520 or the 4 class drives are what we consider our component class drives. But I say that because the back half of this connector is basically the front half, I should say, that plugs into your USB port on your PC or your laptop. That is basically the other end of this, and it plugs right into this printer port or this USB port of the drive. So feel free to navigate through here when you get this PDF. It'll take you right to it. You can see some of the features and benefits. There's again the fan kit and the horizontal mounting. And we talk about integration here as well. We've been through all this.